Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the Baseball Insiders. I am Adam Weinrib, joined by FanSided's MLB insider Robert Murray. Thanks for scoping us out today. You got the Robert Murray midweek show talking about the surging New York Mets, potential surprises in the standings, and a few MLB debuts, plus whatever is in Robert's notebook as he awaits the first round of the NFL draft. Joining me to talk us all through it, of course, is FanSided's MLB insider Robert Murray. Robert, welcome back to the show.
Hey, it feels good to be here. It's been a very chaotic last 96 hours that have involved driving to Wisconsin from Arizona, which was 26 hours with a puppy. So Cooper is actually right next to me. I got a new phone yesterday and it doesn't work. So I'm not able to send text messages. So notebook is admittedly a little lighter than usual. But that being said, I still got plenty of thoughts about baseball. Adam, good to be here with you. How you doing? How was Monday's show without me?
Monday's show is great. Jess came on and we talked about the potential promotion of Nick Kurtz. And she was like, yeah, I don't know. The guys in the locker room, like, they don't really think about it, not too focused on it. Then he got called up like an hour and a half later after the show. So clearly plenty to watch out there in Sacramento. Thankful to have Jess on the show. It was very fun. But yeah, big A's news, and she logged off, so we didn't know. But we'll talk about that a little bit today and what to expect, as well as some additional surprises and the one team that's making the most noise and maybe not on offense. We also will take your questions, so please come with as many as you want for Robert, and we'll make sure to get as many of those addressed as we can. And yes, Sean Garner, the Cubs certainly are rolling, although they are a roller coaster. I don't know what yesterday was. I don't even know if that was enjoyable, but it was a win. They came home victorious, so congrats to the Cubs. If you're joining us here, this is the Baseball Insiders every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, typically with Robert Murray, 3:30 Eastern on Monday and Friday, 1 o'clock on Wednesday, plus the Prospect Show with me and Eric Cole on Tuesdays at noon. We have great guests and great insight there. So if you like this show, you'll like that one too on the same feed. Hit join below the video. You can join us in the Discord at either the Rumor Mill tier or the All-Star tier. We've got private Q&As with Robert Murray in that Rumor Mill channel. We also recommend you subscribe to the Moonshot. That is our weekly baseball email newsletter where the FanSided MLB team, including Robert, break down all the biggest stories in the big leagues with humor, insight, and behind-the-scenes info. You can also get that on the Baseball Insiders feed on fansided.com. That is fansided.com/baseball-insiders for the written content component of this podcast. Rumors and notes from Robert, humor and insight from yours truly, and the best of baseball and pop culture from the FanSided MLB staff writer. So check it out. Okay, Robert, April 23rd, 1 week till the end of the month. I don't know how real we consider that, but we are getting close to the 1 month mark of the season. We're about 4 weeks in. Early opening day, end of April standings check-in. Here are the New York Mets, who have matched the NL West, and they are tied for the best record in the league with the Padres, and they inch slightly ahead of the Dodgers after last night's wild game. It is the pitching from Griffin Canning and Clay Holmes and anyone who enters that Mets pitching lab that has really held it down, as Juan Soto has been good, but not great. And Pete Alonso and Francisco Lindor have carried the offense. But again, that pitching has really been the difference maker. What have you seen that's fueling their rise? And do you believe they are legitimately in that upper National League echelon with the Dodgers and Padres?
I absolutely think they are. And Juan Soto hasn't gotten rolling yet. And yet, let's look at where they are exactly. They're 17-7, and they're in first place in that division. And the job that franchise has done masking the injuries in the pitching staff have been masterful. And with the injury, what was it, Frankie Montas and then Sean Manaea, I mean, they were behind the eight ball before the season even started here. But they've had different guys step up in that rotation. They're going to have both of those guys come back later on in the season here. So they're going to get some more reinforcements. Their offense is still good. Pete Alonso, obviously tremendously talented player there. Francisco Lindor, that's enough said there, but the key player here is Juan Soto, and like he will eventually get going. And it's looking a little bit different than it was last year because he had Aaron Judge. Like the teams had to pitch to him and Judge, or teams pitched to Soto because of Judge. And they don't necessarily have that same kind of presence in the lineup. I mean, to be fair, nobody does because nobody's Aaron Judge. But I am absolutely buyers of the New York Mets. David Stearns has built that team to be competitive year in and year out. And last year was kind of a surprise at just how much they advanced or how far they advanced. considering the state of where they were at as an organization, and maybe thought that was more of a retooling year than anything. But last year was great. This year has been off to a strong start. They're not just going to be competitive this year, but it's going to be just competitive in future seasons. So I absolutely buy them in that tier for sure.
Yeah, I'm starting to agree. And I also think for all of our talk about iron sharpening iron and the NL being a different beast than the AL in the first couple of weeks of the season, it's really clustered to that NL West. I mean, it depends on how you feel about the Cubs and the Brewers, who look like the same Brewers team that we've seen for several years running. And they're going to get the same questions of, yeah, great regular season. The Phillies look like they're closer to closing that window. Christopher Sanchez thinks he is fine. We'll see if forearm tightness is a nothing or a something. But the Braves starting way behind the eight ball. The Phillies not where we expected them to be. The other up-and-coming teams in the NL Central not matching the energy at the top of the division. Outside of that, just NL West steamroller, the Mets do seem to be the class of the league. And the NL doesn't seem to be head and shoulders ahead of anyone outside of the West.
No, exactly. And the West is just, it's a different breed, man. I mean, you look at it. You got the Padres 17-7, Dodgers at 16-8, Giants at 15-9, Diamondbacks at 14-9. Like, there's so many talented teams here. Just in that division alone, then you got the Mets, you got the Phillies, you got the Cubs, the Brewers. And as you said, like, I'm not necessarily a buyer in the Brewers as a legitimate deep postseason threat kind of franchise. They're, to me, like the team that competes for the division, gets a wild card spot, and then gets eliminated in the first round of the postseason. They just maybe I could end up looking like a really bad take because Jackson Churio has a talent to really put the team on his shoulders, but there's just so much really like dominant, great teams in the National League where, like you said, like they're outclassing the American League at this point. But no, I would absolutely put the Mets in that same category as a team like the Padres, like the I mean, I guess we can kind of just put those two in the same class because to me, the Dodgers are in the class of their own because of their talent and the fact that they're coming off of a World Series victory.
Yeah, impossible to doubt the Dodgers, even if everyone is cursing Tanner Scott this morning, until we see a real reason to. Anything else surprising you in the standings currently so far? And I'm going to say, let's leave out the Braves here because we talked about them extensively on previous shows and on Monday's show, and it just, again, continues to be a thing of like, we see it, we know it. It has not gotten much better despite a close sweep over the Twins where they were jockeying back and forth with probably the second or third most disappointing team in baseball right alongside them. So yeah, besides the Braves, who we all know, we're shaking hands, we're doing the handshake meme, we know they're the most disappointing team. Who else is surprising you either in a positive or negative light?
I'm going to go with a negative way, and that's not usually how I roll on this program. I like to keep things positive, but you cannot think anything but negative things when you think of the Baltimore Orioles. And we've talked about it before, but they've had such a unique opportunity here to build a franchise that could compete for a World Series year in and year out. And they've had a farm system as talented as any team in baseball, possibly baseball history, at least since the Cubs when they had Chris Bryant and all these guys coming up through the minors. But they're a couple of years into this, and they're just not getting there. And you can point to player development. I mean, they still got some really good players on that roster for sure. The lack of resources invested into the pitching staff, and when you do investing in the wrong pieces, the bullpen. I mean, the bullpen's been a question for a while now, and just overall, that team is just consistently underwhelmed. And I wonder when exactly we get to the point when we talk about Mike Elias possibly being on the hot seat. And I don't think we're at that point yet. I think he's earned the benefit of the doubt. But the fact that they've struggled to this degree when you have that much talent and you've been that hyped up, it's incredibly disappointing. And to me, if they continue this, they're 9-13 now, but if they continue this, that talk of Elias being on the hot seat is going to grow stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I mean, they were supposed to be the ones who were opening the window that the Red Sox managed to open up instead, right? And we all know it can go sideways, and we're not crowning the Red Sox long-term either. But the Orioles were the original collection of AL East prospect talent. Oh my gosh, they go too deep at every position. all they need is pitching, but surely they'll be able to trade some of their offensive talent for the pitching they need. And then they go out and mortgage some of the future for Corbin Burns. He leaves after 1 year, and they have not done a single other thing that makes me encouraged that they know how to backfill that or are willing to.
Yeah.
Zach Eflin is what he is. Trevor Rogers is the worst trade of last year's deadline. Sorry.
By far. That was awful.
Maybe the last 5. So, I mean, you're sort of insinuating that we don't know if Elias will eventually climb to the hot seat. Do you blame him for the trepidation or David Rubenstein for coming in as this Baltimore fan and then not really translating it to money spent? Is it both? I mean, who's really responsible here?
Yeah, I think that's a totally valid and fair question. It's a mix of both for sure. And it's like, that being said too, is the reported offer to Corbin Burns was 4 years for 180. So it's like they've had money available. They just have not invested it, especially into the pitching staff. And there's even been unique opportunities here too, where you can, like, let's look at the Atlanta Braves for an example here. They were so aggressive in extending their young talent and getting these guys signed long term. Obviously, there's risk in doing those deals early, but you can possibly get a massive bargain when signing players early. And the Orioles have had as much young talent as anyone in baseball, and yet they have not done it. So I think it's a mix of both. The ownership there is definitely, like, it got its faults for sure, but Mike Elias, like, yeah, there's that noise is going to grow louder and louder. Let's just say that.
Yeah, and Jackson Holliday, I think, hit a grand slam the last time I called him out on his show for being a little bit, semi-bust worthy. Not going to anoint him yet, but I'm definitely side-eyeing the Orioles in the same way that you are, in a division that even in down years is full of competitive teams. And this year, maybe it's not going to take 95 wins to win the East, but still, you're going to have to get out of a rut at some point, and you're going to have competent teams up and down the division trying to keep you down towards the bottom. Because there are holes on the Yankees, Red Sox, Jays, and the Rays maybe aren't in that upper echelon, but we're not talking about the AL Central here.
No, we're talking about a much better division than the AL Central, which, by the way, holy cow, is that bad? And I got thoughts on the White Sox too, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. But the AL East is a different beast, and even then, like, nobody's really separated themselves quite yet. Like, you look at the Yankees, they're 14-10. They're leading that division, and you got the Red Sox and the Blue Jays like right there with them too. And even with the Orioles' struggles, they're only 4 games back. Like, that division is absolutely there for the taking. And there's going to be moments when these teams start to separate from each other, because that's just the nature of the business here, the nature of the game. Orioles, you got yourself a chance. You got plenty of opportunity here, a lot of season left, but you gotta start putting your money where your mouth is. And Elias even mentioned that there was a possibility for a trade at one point early this season. I think he said that, at least. Maybe if not, then that's really embarrassing by me. So maybe that means that they're actually looking for some reinforcements, hopefully on the pitching side, because man, oh man, do they need it.
Yep. I want to let's dive over the AL Central for a bit, because I do think this is a good time to chat. The White Sox are, without Martin Perez, and look, you can laugh all you want, but it's not like we didn't ticket the White Sox for phenomenal things, but their offensive output has been below the level of the last year White Sox, who were the worst team, period, point blank, like just the worst team ever. And without Perez, you are losing a trade deadline chip. You are losing valuable innings, which you barely had to begin with, and now you absolutely don't have. The Minnesota Twins get this spectacular Byron Buxton catch yesterday to save a potential tie game against those very same White Sox. But the Twins, not just this year, but last year, September and August and July, have been not White Sox abysmal, but pretty damn close. Are either of those two? Those two teams seem completely doomed to me right now.
Yeah, that is extremely accurate and valid, because that White Sox team is as bad as it gets. And last year, I thought last year was rock bottom. This year could somehow be even worse, and they could end up having the 2 worst records in baseball history when it's all said and done. And Chris Getz has obviously got a very long leash here, because he knew what he was signing up for when he ended up getting this job. But this is probably worse than anyone in that situation could have really expected here. And losing Martin Perez, yeah, that does hurt. He is a guy who was signed to be a veteran. He was signed to be an innings eater. He was signed to provide leadership and also like be that, as I said, like the deadline chip. And now he is probably lost for the season. It's not looking good for his injury there. And you wonder exactly what they're going to do in the short term to replace him. I mean, maybe it's a guy like Mike Clevenger, who they were trying to extend to a starting pitcher. DFA'd him recently. But he went to the minors and they're going to stretch him out as a starting pitcher. So that's one internal option. But if you're relying on Mike Clevenger in the year 2025 to provide innings, that is not a recipe for success. And yeah, I feel bad for White Sox fans. I got plenty of buddies who are White Sox fans growing up here in the Midwest, and just know I feel for you because that is a tough situation.
Yeah, but we're still watching, and it's a fan base that deserves better baseball than it's received for sure, and then that's even faded. So hopefully, some of the prospects, Braden Montgomery has gotten off to a great start, and we will talk about him. We talked about him on the Prospect Show yesterday. I'm sure we'll talk about him again moving forward, but it's going to be prospect-centric again for the Chicago White Sox and that wonderful fan base.
Yeah, and I'll also say this too, is I don't think things are going to really change for the White Sox until Jerry Reinsdorf is not the owner there. That's an impossible job with him as the owner. It's not like on the level of Artie Moreno by any means, but it's still not good. And yeah, I feel bad for Getz. I feel bad for some other people there because I think he really limits just how successful that franchise can be. Although that being said, that Crochet trade for them, with the prospects they got, that was a really good process there. That was a huge recovery after that just absolute mockery of a 3-team trade they made last year.
You are right, and it is wild how similar this feels to the post-Wilpon Mets. There was a article that came out today.
Like that.
Yeah, there's an article that came out today where Ryan Stanek basically said, the Mets are above and beyond everyone else when it comes to pitching research and development, or at least the teams that he's touched. And imagine saying that about a Wilpon team, like investing their significant resources and diminishing financial capital over time. But they were competitive financially for a long time, but didn't know how to allocate it and couldn't figure out the process. And now the Mets are leading the charge in certain departments that they fell way behind in. So ownership matters too. It's not just GM, and it's not just a cash flow thing with ownership either. It's signing off on the right initiatives.
Oh, absolutely. And Cohen and David Stearns have plenty of conversations, and they're always in lockstep on different things that they can do to improve that organization. And it's a major step in the right direction after the Wilpon ownership tenure. And I mean, that every year was all like their own little PR disasters that they had there with the Mets. And obviously there's been some different things that have happened with the Mets since, so it's not like it's like totally out of the woods by any means. But Cohen has done a remarkable job in giving David Stearns as many resources as he can to be successful. And Stearns, I saw it in Milwaukee. He cares. He is very, he's mindful with the moves that he makes, whether it's on the roster or whether it's in player development, whether it's pitching side, like you name it. He's always thinking of different ways to tinker things. He's not afraid to fail, and he listens to his people. He's an excellent communicator. Brought in some guys from Milwaukee as well to help him out there. So it's been a collective effort with how they've turned things around internally. But Stearns is the key piece here, and hiring him changed everything for the Mets. He finally made them like not only competent, but like he put them in a position to be successful as an organization. And that's not something that franchise could say about anyone in, gosh, who knows how long.
Yeah, no more Mr. Met flipping people off as far as I've seen. I mean, if he has flipped people off in the stands, and let me know. I'd love to see it again. It was a very fun thing to see the first time. But it does seem like finally that stability is there. And that's what White Sox fans and Pirates fans and Mariners fans and all the sell the team fans hopefully have to look forward to around the corner at some point. And perhaps the Orioles will even get into that sell the team bucket again if things go too far sideways.
No, exactly. And MLB deadline news, you're right. There are way too many bad owners in the sport. That's unfortunate. There should be a lot more spending. There should be a lot more competency. There should be a lot more competitiveness, but yet there still is not. A lot of bad franchise out there. And Cooper says hello. He's bumping into my computer desk, so he's making a nice appearance. Cooper, you want to say hi, buddy?
Hi there, bud.
Yeah, let's go. He made the drive with me, everybody. There's a Cooper appearance.
Well, Cooper concussion. Big dog. Let's go, bud.
Dude, he's probably 50 pounds at this point, so he's a big boy.
Yeah, I tried to lift a 30-pound dog across the street the other day, and I could barely do it based on just lifting Biscuit. I have to get recalibrated to what a normal-sized dog feels like. Embarrassing for me, but I can't imagine lugging a 50-pound dude around.
No, it is not the easiest thing in the entire world, but he's worth it. He's a good boy, and he's made the most of his visits so far. He did pee in the kitchen yesterday, which that was not very good, but he's doing better.
A lack of familiarity, they do that from time to time. They don't know what a room is. Biscuit right now, the shore house, like he's getting comfy today, but his first couple of days were he's just yapping at sand. I mean, screaming at walls. We didn't know what was going on. But hey, sometimes fresh faces can bring about good things and not just random mid-podcast barking. Plenty of debuts and breakouts since we last spoke. Max Meyer, not a debut, but you'd be hard-pressed to say a 14K game didn't put him on everybody's radar far more than he'd been previously. Caleb Durbin brought the hustle to the Brewers this past weekend and translated the power, hit his first big league home run. Nick Kurtz got the call for Sacramento. I don't think we expected that so soon. What has left you most impressed out of this sort of new wave of youngsters breaking through over the past couple of days?
You mind if I pivot on you, Adam?
I don't mind at all.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with Pete Crow Armstrong with the Chicago Cubs. It was funny, like just the complete turnaround that's happened here is all the reports about that extension offer from the Chicago Cubs came out, and those were almost entirely all wrong. Like there was an effort, but the numbers that were reported were wrong, and the timing, I believe, was off as well. So other than that, it was a good report. But like when that came out, Cubs fans kind of just were not happy overall. They were kind of like, why the heck would Pete Crow Armstrong not accept that? And then ever since, he's obviously had his huge game against the Dodgers where he had 2 homers and a triple, and he just turned it on offensively. He's obviously like a tremendously gifted athlete in the outfield. So there's a lot to like there with Pete Crow Armstrong. He's finally putting it together. You can see why he bet on himself, why he didn't end up taking that extension, which I don't know the dollar value of it. But he's really impressed folks, and he deserves his praise because there's been a lot of good in baseball. He ranks among the top options for me. I'll also give your guy Caleb Durbin a shot too, because his first homer the other day for the Brewers, he's going to be a key piece there for them at third base. They needed some stability or just some life there because they were not getting much there at all. So promising start for some young players here in the NL Central.
Yeah, I'm giving Durbin the shout. Shout out to you, of course. Yeah, Kurtz in Oakland. On the prospect show, I went off and sort of said, like, hey, like, don't call him up too soon because he might mess around in a Pacific Coast League home ballpark and hit 30, 35 home runs and get himself into that Rookie of the Year race. I mean, is that a crazy expectation to have, or is that sort of aligned with reality?
No, that's not. I don't think that's too much at all. I think he's a really freaking good player, and we're seeing exactly how that ballpark just plays for offense. And if there's ever a player or ever a stadium where you can feel a player who can win Rookie of the Year or just make a huge impact offensively, we're looking at it there in Sacramento for the A's. So maybe it's too early. You don't know until you try. There's always a big debate on when these prospects should be promoted, but I appreciate the A's like aggressiveness because it extended free agency, and now it's come with promoting prospects. And like we've seen the Braves be really aggressive doing it, the Angels be aggressive doing it. Now we got the A's being aggressive, and I think we're going to see pretty quickly here just how talented he is and why the A's ended up making the right decision and calling him up.
I was so happy with the promotion that I left them off our list of terrible owners. So thanks, A's, for that. You distracted me with the shiny object.
Yeah. It's actually unbelievable. I mean, like obviously, like John Fisher. I mean, he deserves he deserves some flack for sure. But he's actually investing. I mean, it took moving out of Oakland to do so, which that really sucks. I feel bad for the A's fans or Oakland fans for that. But he's at least investing into the roster, kind of because he had to. But he's actually doing it. So we're keeping him off our list for now. But he is definitely on the watch list for sure.
Yeah, very transparent. He's what he's doing after getting his wish and leaving Oakland, but he's still in the purgatory stage though. So watch out. Go to the comments real quick, just while we're talking about terrible owners. That guy, anything new to say about the Pirates? I certainly don't have anything new to say. Nice 9 runs last night. Andrew McCutchen yelling at a fan today on Twitter who told him, didn't tell him even, just wrote a treatise on why Kutch should be benched. And McCutchen was like, I should not be benched. Why are you giving up on the season already? So discord, not harmony over there in Pittsburgh. But any thoughts from your perspective?
Just a lot of sheer disappointment. And, it's never good when I respect Kutch. Like, he is as respected of a player, I think, as there is in baseball. But shouldn't be clapping back at fans. I wouldn't do that if I was him. There's really nothing to gain there overall. But I think that really kind of sums up the frustration that's being had in that Pirates locker room right now, because they're, that team is just a disaster overall, especially offensively. Like, I knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't know it was going to be like this bad. Now they're just kind of, it's not good. That's all I can really say. That guy, it's not good for the Pirates.
It's not good, and we appreciate the question though, and we appreciate keep bringing it. We'll maybe have something at some point. MLB deadline news: Twins selling their team soon. Adam, first of all, thank you for directing the question to me, someone with intimate knowledge of the Twins front office. But top bad owners again, purgatory owners, bad. This feels like they're stuck in between two. Like, I don't know if this is going to get resolved soon, and I think the last I heard was a major setback. So I don't think we're close to a resolution here.
No, I don't think so either. And I'm not going to pretend like I got intimate knowledge on this one, because if I'm being honest, I don't. But I have not heard of anything imminent being there. So I think your info on that one, Adam, is very much correct. So good job, Adam.
Thank you. And thank you for the question, of course. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap this up? You're going to be at the first round of the NFL draft tomorrow. Boots on the ground. That'll be weird. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is going 3/21 or Friday, but any final thoughts?
I am very excited for the draft. Draft is always a fun time. I think Gianti goes number 5, based on what I can kind of tell. I would look for the Eagles to be on the defensive side of the ball. I think an either edge rusher or cornerback. Tight end thing kind of seems like a smokescreen in my eyes. Let's see what else. I think the Giants are going to screw things up. Mm-hmm. I'm just kidding. I think they're going to get Carter and probably Jackson Dart, because it seems like Brian Daboll is pretty enamored with Jackson Dart. Yeah. Hopefully the Chiefs don't do anything that great. If you hear a guy yelling "Go Birds" really loud, odds are it's me. So hopefully that's well received there in Green Bay.
It does smell a little bit like the Giants and Jackson Dart. Agreed. We'll touch base. We'll see what you got. We appreciate everybody joining us today for a midweek show. I will be back on Friday afternoon at 3:30 with a cast of guest characters. So stay tuned for that. We're going to be trying something fun, and we'll see you, Robert, back here on Monday at 3:30 or when next week?
Monday next week. I will be back, taking some vacation the rest of the week. Just recharge the batteries and just enjoy the draft with a bunch of family and friends. Should be a good time. Now I got to go figure out my phone situation, because I cannot go to the draft tomorrow without my phone working, because there is a chance that I could be tipping some picks, because I do got football sources. So that's fun. So we'll see if I'm able to do that. And if I do that, hopefully people won't get too mad at me.
Even if you didn't have to do it for a job, though, I can't imagine like being, old school 1990s lost in the middle of Green Bay with no cell phone, no service, and a giant crowd of people at the NFL draft.
That would be god awful. I'm not kidding you. I'd probably not make it back to Scottsdale.
No, walk around like, waving parchment around like Cooper's on one end of Lambeau. Like nobody wants to be there.
No, that'd be awful. But I'm optimistic I'll survive. But I got to figure this thing out today, because if not, then I'm going to be in some trouble.
Yeah, go get her done. Thank you, everybody, for showing up today's show. Again, 3:30 on Friday. We'll be right back here. Turn your notifications on and find us on the audio feed if you prefer that. We're there as well on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to the Moonshot and read Baseball Insiders on fansided.com/baseball-insiders. Join us as well in the Discord, Rumor Mill, or All-Star tier. Working on adding perks for you fine folks soon. We thank everybody who's joined us and made that a fun community. For Robert Murray, I'm Adam Weinrib. Happy NFL drafting. Happy MLB season. And we will see you again on Friday with a fun show and on Monday with Robert. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.